AssessPrep saves our teachers a little bit of time in terms of being able to provide really high quality feedback, access to student writing samples, and the feedback that they are being given, because that's informing us so much about what is happening in the classroom. So there have been a ton of benefits to using AssessPrep. I would say that is the number one. Our school district has 13 high schools, and all of them are DP authorized, and that's for a full continuum, P-like through DP. And what we were noticing is that our teachers were struggling to properly assess students along the way in the diploma program before they took their external assessments. And so we needed some type of tool that allowed teachers to do more formative and summative assessment along the way so that we could have data on how students were performing before we got all the way to the end of year 2. And the reason we settled with AssessPrep is because of the AI features, which made grading for the teachers a lot easier, and the feedback was really phenomenal. And so that just made it a lot easier for us to use and implement throughout the year. Mostly because there was some lack of being familiar with what was required for each DP course. Each school just wasn't doing a very high quality job of assessing along the way or tracking data for students along the way. And so it almost kind of seemed like we would get to the end of year 2 with the external assessments and be very surprised at how kids did, because we did not have data throughout year 1 and throughout year 2 that was telling us how they were performing. Meaning they also weren't getting a lot of high quality feedback anytime they took an assessment so that they could improve. And so AssessPrep now allows us to do that. I think it's really taught the teachers a lot about what is expected of students in the course itself. I mean, they all have gone through training and have internalize their course guide to some degree, but I think being able to see the feedback that is being given to students based on the rubric uploads that we're doing is teaching the teachers a lot about what is expected of the student, which is then in turn raising their level of instruction to make sure that students are getting what they need in order to perform well on the assessment. So I think first and foremost, it has just done a lot to teach teachers how to implement their course a lot better, in addition to improving student outcomes because of the feedback that they're getting. I think that the first thing they're appreciating is the AI feedback that is given on student writing responses. I think that's number one. Number two, I do think the bank is really appreciated. It's just nice to have a whole collection of additional questions and assessment types available for teachers to use. And then number three, I think, is having the data that they're able to look at for their students over the course of the course instead of waiting until the very end. The top one, I would say access to student writing samples and the feedback that they are being given, because that's informing us so much about what is happening in the classroom. So there have been a ton of benefits to using AssessPrep. I would say that is the number one. For me, it is helping teachers understand the expectation of what students need to do, and then students getting feedback in terms of how close they are to that expectation. To me, it just comes down to the feedback. That is such a crucial piece, and AssessPrep saves our teachers a little bit of time in terms of being able to provide really high quality feedback. Teachers still go and review that feedback and ultimately have to submit that feedback to the students after having reviewed it themselves. But I think helping them save the time, students are still getting high quality feedback. Teachers are able to use that to inform their instruction. That is the biggest selling point for me. Yeah, that's correct. So we will look at all of the samples, the feedback given, the scores ultimately at the end. And then our data team will be measuring growth between the beginning of year and the end of year assessment on all of the courses that we write assessments for. And then that is what's going to be reported to TEA. students are able to use this feedback and understand what is now required in order to improve. I think beforehand and in years past, students were just not getting enough feedback. And so they too were surprised on how they were going to perform on the external assessments. And that should not be the case. Students should know exactly what is expected of them and then have gotten feedback along the way to help them improve. And then whether they choose to do that or not is up to them, but as long as they've been getting the feedback. And that was not happening before, but is happening now. And so I'm really eager to see what that means in terms of student improvement, not only this year with the beginning of year and end of year assessments that we have implemented. In addition to that, teachers are implementing more assessments in their classroom as well. But ultimately, I'm eager to see what this is going to mean at the end of their 12th grade year or their second year in the diploma program when they take those external assessments. Obviously, that's still a year away, but at least the end of year assessment this year, I'm eager to see what the difference may be. Thank you for that.